That's
Okay.
the effect on our farmers. I have a brother who farms in Sabiao, Nueva Ecija, and it's no longer profitable, so he's shifting to vegetables.
Yes.
The effect on the consumers, however, is favorable.
Yeah.
Of that price stabilization.
Lower.
So
lower
the
price.
point of Mr. Alingong,
Yeah. Will you
change
please,
the consumption habits
will you please
will
talk with
not
the,
be changed
excuse
by
me,
that.
will you please talk with
Oh,
the mic is
sorry,
with you
sorry.
so we can all hear you?
Okay. So, two contending forces. No.
Oh, well, you're right.
Okay.
That's why we really need to have an active advocacy, educate the consumer that what looks good is not necessarily good.
Good.
You're not talking of women, are you?
By the way,
Also.
before this, I just like to go back to the question of trying to change the image of kamote. Actually, we have a success story changing the image of a crop that is looked down upon by our society. It's kalabasa.
Okay.
Before, when you do
That's where the
when you pay
Calabasa
tax-
prize comes from,
yeah,
right?
Kalabasa award.
Prize.
But now the image is completely different.
Okay.
It's because of the effort of East West Seed Company to modernize kalabasa farming. Now it's more or less uniform kalabasa that you find, good quality, uniform, predictable quality.
Okay.
And one picture that we have used is Ann Cortez hugging a kalabasa.
Mhm.
That created an impact today. I don't think kalabasa is looked down upon as an inferior food.
Okay. Mr. Gomez, go ahead. Mr. Gomez? Okay, this is the first.
Not so much a question, but a comment. Mr. Chairman, we already have an informal
Can you yeah.
forestry group headed by Ito Carlos.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we expect to have an informal nutrition group. I have talked to Vicky Winicky, and I've talked to BJ,
Yeah.
and we also have from Los Baños, Tito Contado. So I think this is something which we can push on the nutrition.
Okay.
I think what I don't know if Dr. Rasco can give more details on the water farming after the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent question. We are today just beginning to learn how to farm the waters. Land farming is a very old technology dating back to 10,000 years ago. But it's only in the last 10, 20 years that we are learning how to farm the waters. And we are making a lot of mistakes. The same mistakes that land farmers have committed, like pollution, resource depletion, all of these are coming up. And it's basically because of the same problem, the same mistake that the land farmers have committed, monoculture. So how do we solve this? Polyculture. Change from mono to poly. And so my advocacy really is a more diversified farming. The solution that I have in mind consists of three words: diversified, intensified, and integrated. IID.
Say it again.
Diversified, integrated, and intensified farming system. You can practice it on land, you can practice it in the seas. But in both cases, we have very poor knowledge of how this system works. So there's a lot more work. And I haven't started to talk about the supply chain. We were starting to discuss it. How do you manage a supply chain based on a farm that has so many different products coming out at different times of the year and supplying an equally diverse eating habits? One solution is to regionalize agriculture, meaning that you produce crops, livestock, etc., that is based on local preferences. Like if you are in the Bicol region, there's science behind it. It has developed as a local preference because it's something they can easily grow. Like in the Bicol region, gabi, coconut, kamote. These are, local products. But in Ilocos, it's different. Saluyot, etc. So if you try to localize farming, then it will be easier to farm, and it will be easier to reach the market because you are supplying local market. No need for highly sophisticated supply chain that starts from Iowa in the US down to Timbuktu somewhere.
Okay, go ahead.
Doctor, I have actually at the risk of being repetitive. It boils down really to economics. Our friend here mentioned it. If I buy rice at 40 pesos and I get to feed a family and I cook it, it doubles. So in effect, it's 20 pesos. So what is a staple that will match that price? It's more of arithmetic and economics. I think that's really it. It's not really preference, because I remember in the late 70s, early 80s, we had very scarce, there was a scarcity of rice. And then they substituted corn. And people ate it anyway because of the price. So I think it's really more of an arithmetic problem rather than a food preference, because it's really cheap.
The
And
beauty,
it's subsidized by government.
the beauty of economics is they create problems, but they also provide solutions. Like you mentioned, that rice is preferred because it's cheaper. But if you do the final analysis, it's more expensive. How much does it cost to treat diabetes if you are diagnosed at the age of 50? 12 million pesos
I
before you
have
die.
an answer for that. I usually,
No, wait for the mic. Okay, talking to the mic.
I have an answer for that. You do not have diabetes if you keep moving. If you have exercise, you will use the energy that you're eating. It's supposed to be that what you eat, you use to move. What you eat, you use as energy.
Energy, yeah.
Now, the main problem of people now is they're just playing with this. So they're sitting down. I am looking at my Netflix, so I'm lying down. And I eat when it's time to eat. But I do not go around anymore. I do not attend the meetings anymore. So it's actually how a person utilizes what he eats. Now, when you are young, you run around. It used to be that children were running around after somebody. They run around because they're playing. But now children are playing with computers, they're just sitting down. And so that generates the obesity and the diabetes when you reach 30 plus or 40. It's very early now. I reached actually diabetes when I was 65 because I stopped doing something. I was used to walking around and sitting and everything. And then when the children they finished college, so I gave myself a vacation. And then the result was I have diabetes. So, but there is a cure to diabetes. You reduce your energy sourcing, and you substitute juice, ampalaya, and cucumber. And then, so
Are you saying that you got your diabetes because you refrained from your marital duties?
that's the one. But it is when you are young, when you do not have to care whether you eat so much energy or carbohydrates when you are young. That's about mga 30, 40. Ngayon, bumababa eh. Even the children, you give them one of these every day. I can see a 5-year-old playing with this. They're no longer using the energy they have. So, that's the cause of diabetes actually. So you find that there are a lot of young people now getting diabetes because the food is, like say, sa McDo, sa Kentucky, sa Gobochon, they have chicken with honey, like that. So we are into ordering our food. We do not cook it anymore. And then double rice. So that's the culprit.
Unlimited. Okay.
It's the
Okay.
it's the habit of
Okay.
a person while you are growing up. So if you want to change really, I was talking to him, what if we create, we do not import so much rice anymore, you will cut it into half. Just make a law that you cannot import that much rice and people will adjust to what we should eat. You have to adjust like she said. I-mix namin, ako I eat corn eh. Pagka ang corn, maganda pagka-meal, you can eat it na,
Okay.
tas parang rice.
Can I correct
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
because it's common misconception that this diabetes, obesity, chronic diseases is a matter of energy balance. That if you consume a lot of energy, you will have to expend it so that you can avoid build-up of fat. That's wrong. Because the process is actually hormonal. It's not actually a matter of, energy balance. When your glucose rises, the net effect in the long term is increased insulin. And what is insulin? It's a hormone that facilitates transport of fat into, of all places, your visceral region. Kaya yung matataba, dito nag-uumpisa. And what you see is not really fat under the skin, but it's around your liver, your kidney, every other place that you don't want fat to be. And that is essentially a hormonal process. So it's in the food that you eat. It's not lack of activity, but in the food that you eat that is crucial here.
Okay, Secretary Rico, go ahead, you have the floor.
This is not a question, for a comment. Rice is such a political issue. If you have a milk shortage here, you have no problem. If you have a kamote shortage, there is no problem. If you have a rice shortage, it is a problem. Unlike in other countries like, I think, Malaysia or even the state of Sabah, they would rather import rice than produce it. Sell their low-grade, high-grade quality oil and use it to import rice. No? So it's going to take a lot of doing. Even everything here is politicized. You start discussing policy about reducing rice production, rice consumption. Kung saan-sana, kung sumasanga yung discussion, it goes all over the place. And the lady referred to the rice mix. That was in the early days of martial law, rice corn mix. And it sort of questioned the validity of martial law at that time because you had the person had full powers and he was having difficulty getting the rice production. That's why we had the Masagana 99. That's how political it was.
Indeed, that's true. All this rice efficiency program is not really to provide nutrition and health to our population. It's for political survival of whoever is in power. That's why,
But I also ask an issue, is that also true for the younger generation? The younger generation, a lot of them, different ideas.
I'm not sure because it was said earlier that the consumption of rice is going up instead of going down. And maybe it's because of the increase in population, but also you're even saying that
it's per capita.
per capita.
Okay, your comment? Any more comments?
I wanted to say that it's really for political survival, this sufficiency thing. So I don't have any love for the current president, but I think this is our best chance. He's not afraid to lose his job. So if there's going to be any change in the direction we want it to be, this is our best bet.
Well, it's also the management of your buffer stock. If you manage your buffer stock correctly, you'll always have rice. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes. Okay.
Taking off from.
Please wait for the mic. No, sorry. David, you wanted to make a comment. David, can you please make a comment first about commodities?
Sorry, I'll just make one comment. We started this conversation talking about commodification as the source of green revolution and what that did to agriculture. And then we moved on to, so commodification tended to favor something that was being produced in large quantities and probably to be exported, not necessarily for local consumption. Now you're very clearly saying that for domestic purposes you're looking at diversification and within a farm. And one of the things that surprises me is that there has been no farming system that very clearly evolved. For example, under coconuts, where you see very little percentage of a coconut crop with diversified crops underneath it, and yet you have plenty of potential. So farming systems, regionally or locally based, have not emerged. And for my particular agenda, you don't see legumes in great quantity planted anywhere in the Philippines. And that really staggers me. The simplest plant that can fix nitrogen, you find it all over India, you find it all over Thailand, you find it all over most of Asia, but not in the Philippines. Legumes are not considered, just aren't considered, and I don't understand that. But so that's my comment. So we seem to have, I'm just asking the question, where do we go with commodification versus feeding the local population?
I talk about a planetary health diet. Here is a series of illustrations taken from various parts of the world of how they interpret a PhD would be. One thing you see in common here, you don't see white rice. Okay? And as you mentioned, there is a need to increase consumption of plant protein sources, legumes. In fact, in my analysis, we need to increase legume consumption by, I think, more than 2,000%
Per capita,
per capita.
20 times.
Also vegetables.
20 times per year. Okay,
Vegetables about 14 times.
14.
But corresponding with that is a reduction in rice, in meat, in eggs, in dairy. So, well, the beauty with the concept of PhD is you can make your own PhD based on locally available food, such as what is illustrated here. It's not from one country. It's, it's a concept that can be interpreted many different ways as long as you know the science behind it. The science behind it is less animal, more plant.
How about fish?
Yeah, based on my analysis, it has to double fish consumption.
Well,
I think I have the actual figures here, so I don't end up guessing. Okay, we need to reduce rice, wheat, and corn consumption by 36%, increase tubers or starchy vegetables by 77%, vegetables by 1,440%, 14 times. That's the kind of changes in the structure of agriculture that will result from application of the planetary health diet. Start with consumption. How do you supply the need for this kind of healthy diet? That is what is needed. That's why I said this is revolutionary, because you're going to change the whole picture of agriculture in this country. Legumes and nuts. In fact, I said more than 2,000%. It's actually 3,493%.
Nuts.
Increase fish by 100%, double.
You said nuts,
Yeah, legumes.
but for
That's amazing.
Well, if you eat too much. Well, actually, there's a lot of stuff that is bad for arthritis. Meat also. So choose your poison.
The source of this recipe.
Yeah, I figured it out based on what the FNRI considers as adequate for the Filipino. But by the way, these are averages. It will change with age or sex. This average is based on the need of a 30-year-old male that weighs 70 kilos and a 30-year-old female that weighs 60 kilos. So it will change with age. But for planning, this would be a good figure to start with.
Okay, just a call. Okay, yeah. Please wait for the mic. Okay, Mr. Pereira. Wait a minute, are you through with your slide? Did you want to say anything else about your slides?
I have a last slide before we
Okay,
start.
go ahead, Mr. Pereira.
We've been hearing that we really should be shifting from eating rice to other more hygienic or healthful foods like vegetables and legumes. So the issue really is the market. How do we convince the market how to do that? I think shift the consumer. Now, Secretary Huico mentioned something about during the martial law days. Now, I recall also during the martial law days that there were these regular TV programs on TV, and I remember it was something about ang gulay, ang palaya, ito, mahusay, they would be promoting crops, legumes, or vegetables on TV to the children. Now, I find that lacking. We should, I think, revive such a program we can talk to ABCDF and this GMN, etc. to have some kind of a program. We should really do a marketing strategy to shift the thinking of our young people. I think that should be a concrete step. It's the market. We can always produce a lot of these things. We have the agronomy, the know-how to plant, to increase production. But it's the market. If the market isn't taking it, then you'll have rotten vegetables and etc. On the ground. Now, of course, we have to also help this marketing approach by talking to what do we call this? The cooks, the cooks in the restaurants and etc. People like, for example, Nora Dasa, if she were still around, she can invent recipes to use more okra, more gulay, more cabbages, and etc. Involve it into the gastronomy of our culture, of our people. Cabbages, for example, cabbages you can get 30 tons per hectare of cabbages. It's a very efficient production crop, but there's also a limited market for that. So it's a really a marketing that we have to do.
Okay, I want to add on to that, to your comment. No? How many of who of you here knows the most famous, the most popular restaurant in the world and where it is? Does anybody know? No, it's in Denmark. It's in Denmark. There's a restaurant there where the waiting period is 2 months, okay, for a 10-table operation. Exactly. And the technique is to look at the food around the area, only around the area, and to use creative introductions or innovative introductions on what makes the food taste better, more experimentation, trial and error, and sometimes they strike on the right formula. And this technique is being followed all over Scandinavia. This restaurant has 3 Michelin stars, and it's being followed in Norway, Sweden, and Finland. And what they do is look around just the local area, depending on the climate, depending on the conditions, and just pluck from what's available there, and mix it in the proper combination, trial and error, until it comes out well. It needs a bit more innovation, and particularly, and I would have to emphasize, innovation in food has to do not only with taste, but also with appearance. The appearance of our food does not look appealing at all, because first of all, we just mix and mash them all together. Sometimes it looks like pig food, you know, like this kare-kare or the, and yet, okay, yeah. Okay, that's my comment. Any other comments? Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the main topic here is the food security without rice. So maybe wrapping up, maybe we can focus on that. I'd like to agree with the lady here. It's also a matter of arithmetic. Okay? What is cheap? The 38% of our people who are in the poverty, below the poverty line, would tend to go towards cheaper staple. I think the topic here is food security, meaning staple. Hindi naman karne, hindi naman. So, if we go back to that, the only way that we can solve a rice shortage is producing something that can be, that on a per hectare basis could be more productive than rice. Okay? And if this is more productive than rice, per hectare, let's say you produce 10 tons as against 4 tons national average for rice, then necessarily you can, the producer, the farmer, can also sell that cheaper than rice to the final consumer. Okay, 38% below the poverty line. Now, therefore, taking off from the lady's statement, that percentage of people, of the Filipino people, will take more easily to consuming kamote if we can just take out the bad reputation of eating rice. As I said, there will be less expense by government trying to change the perception of people towards what we can produce more and more efficiently rather than, you know, trying to buy or produce more of what we have failed at for so many decades. Now, you can start children early. So everything in this world is actually acquired taste. So if you are taught early that this is delicious, it becomes delicious afterwards. Also, if you have it endorsed by reference people like movie stars, you know, this is lower glycemic index, you don't have to eat it every day or every meal, you just have to eat it at breakfast, very good substitute for pandesal or sinangak, etc. Then already, you reduce the consumption. At most, maybe initially 30%. But maybe later on, if it's cheaper, maybe 50% of 38% of the population.
Okay.
We only import 5%. So that wipes out importation, that wipes out shortage if we just do this. Thank you.
Okay, if you don't have a reaction, Mr. Bloom will make a comment. You want to react?
Calorie per calorie. The other staples are cheaper to produce than rice. But the problem is once you start moving them around from one province to the next, you lose a lot of weight by spoilage, etc. Kamote, you lose a lot of kamote by rotting, you know. It stays on the shelf long enough, it will rot. Unlike rice, which you can store for months, 6 months, it will not spoil.
The other part there is you can time the harvest of kamote unlike rice because it's splintering. You know, it's a ripe fruit after it ripens before
Well, the better alternative.
Here you can time it so that, you know,
Sell
take up
locally.
for the sell locally. I agree with that.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Bloom, we're running out of time. Mr. Bloom has the last point, and then we'll go into your slide presentation. Okay, Mr. Bloom.
If your interest is feeding people,
Stuart, can you put your mic closer?
if your interest is in feeding people, if you Google growing 100 pounds of potatoes in 4 square feet, which is a box system like this that it can be done indoors, you can feed everybody. But it murders your markets. If everyone's growing 200, 300 pounds of potatoes there, and potatoes not a poor man's food. Look at McDonald's, look at Jollibee and everything else, and there's a million ways to cook potatoes. But the issue of food security I'm talking to people, my friends in Sulu and Stengai, they never saw potatoes. They don't grow potatoes there. The Irish survived on potatoes until 1855, when they had the potato famine. Yeah, no, well, my friend survived in the jungle as an MPA for 5 years on camote. Okay, so camote and all of these root crops, that's the path. That really is the path. But the potato thing, growing potatoes wherever you are, that calculates to something like 2.5 million pounds of potatoes per hectare if you were at supreme levels. But that's one of the real answers to it.
Okay.
Actually po, ano,
Wait first. No. It's a.
Okay, quick one, no? I remember a few years ago, maybe 20, 30 years ago, when McDonald's came to the Philippines, the brilliant people in the industry said they're going to fail, including Jollibee, okay, because Filipinos are rice eaters. Okay, now today, Jollibee is sprouting and McDonald's. No? So I agree with most of us to say that it's really how you educate the person. Okay, a few years ago, I was beside the Secretariat of Agriculture, and then we're talking about the same thing. So he's saying, you know what? It's really we have to educate the farmers to do crops. What do you call that? Cash crops or fast crops like vegetable. No. So personally, for me, I believe in balance. No. So most of the Filipino young kids I see eating rice, a lot of rice. No. And then when I go to restaurants, I also see a lot of rice being thrown away. We operate like 10 restaurants, and I can see a lot of rice being wasted. So I feel bad about it as well. No. But when I'm talking to our good member, BJ, he makes rice, but he covers it with very good garlic, or I think BJ, could you explain? So my question is that a possible solution? We educate people to balance their diet, and if they eat a lot of rice, we include this special rice that BJ is selling, no, to add on the nutrition as you've been trying to focus. BJ, could you explain it?
Put it on what we do. First, I want to make a comment about your presentation because you came out very well. Is it because you're conscious that you're coming out on television?
Okay, BJ, go ahead. Take it on. No, yeah. That's related to the rice, no?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, BJ.
Actually, what we have, it's actually available in SM, Robinsons, all the supermarket, a lot already. It's doing fairly well. What we do is we get the rice, we pulverize to a powder, we add luyang dilaw, and we add malunggay, and we pass it through a high pressure machine to reform it into rice again. So the rice color green, color yellow, and it looks just like rice. It tastes just like rice, but there's starch in it. It tastes like white rice because generally kids don't like the taste of brown rice. So it tastes like white rice, but it's full of the vegetables and the vitamins and whatnot that are as if you're eating vegetables. So it's like the kids, especially for kids who don't like eating vegetables, when they eat this, it's rice with vegetables inside it already. Aside from the vegetables, we also put vitamins. So there's vitamin A, iron, zinc, whatnot. Those vitamins are needed. So it's actually inside the rice. Because what others do is they just put the vitamins on top of the rice when they sell it because there's iron fortification law. The problem with that is when you wash the rice, it's gone. What we do is we put the vitamins inside the grain. So now, even if you cook it, it's still there. And we use heat-tolerant vitamins. So because of that, it doesn't really degrade much. So we've actually tested the efficacy of the vitamins. After we cooked it, we have it set up for testing. And it's actually very high, the levels. So
it's selling well now.
It's selling well. I'm happy.
How much?
It's actually a little bit expensive right now. It's about $80 a kilo, 80 to 85 bucks a kilo.
Okay.
It's not that much. I mean, there's rice out there that's more expensive that doesn't have that. So.
Okay, you want to comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very inspiring instead. Cesar here mentioned that I work for this seed company, and I'd like to share with you the success story of that company. It's now the leading seed company in the world, and the founder just got the World food prize. That's the equivalent of Nobel Prize, the highest kind of recognition you can get for agriculture. The secret is producing a product before there is a market for it. So we call it plant breeding for market development. I'm reminded because he mentioned that he produced a product that doesn't have a market yet. So you have to build a market, create a market for a product that you sincerely believe is good.
So you reverse the process.
Reverse the process. We are trained in business school to produce a product that the market wants.
Yeah.
Well, this is something that you have to create the preference for. And that leads me to this definition. The core of the problem is this. Food security has many elements, okay? But there are two conflicting elements here. Nutrition and food preference. That's the core of our problem. We cannot achieve food security because we have to sacrifice one for the other. Among all these elements, we have these two conflicting.
Did you have another slide to show us?
The final one.
The final one. Okay. Okay, before you do that, okay, yes, go ahead.
Sir, how about wasn't hybrid rice supposed to do that?
Well, hybrid rice is no different in terms of nutrition on the other hand from all other kinds of rice. The only thing you get there is hybrid vigor, meaning that the performance of the hybrid is better than the better parent. That is the trait of hybrid rice that ordinary rice doesn't have. So it's more on the production rather than a nutritional one.
Okay, we're ready for your final slide.
Oh, okay. Well, I reserve it for last. I hope it's the best.
Okay.
27 words that I'd like all of us to remember. I know we are old, so we cannot memorize more than 27 words. So I limited it to 27 words, 3 main messages.
27 is too many.
Okay. 21 words, no, it's not 27, 21 words. I think I'm beginning to join you. Senior moment. 21 words that can save you and the planet. The first 14 words, this is for everyone. Eat food, meaning minimally processed. Okay? That's the meaning of food. Not too much. I hope that's self-explanatory. And mostly plants. That's why we said shift from meat products to legumes, a source of protein. Okay. The other one is eat local food that is in season. So these are total of 14 words, 7 words each. Okay? Can you memorize that, Jerry? Well, the second one is also 7 words for farmers and policymakers. They are the ones who will shape the future of food supply. Aim for a science-based, nature-inspired food system. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, with that we have to conclude so that we can go into private interaction. Our next meeting will be on 28th.
Malnutrition.
What's that?
Malnutrition.
Malnutrition.
And
Which is,
cooking.
what's that? Say that again? I cannot read it.
Next meeting will be on
Can you announce it?
malnutrition.
Can you talk into the mic?
There.
There it is. Okay? Okay? Can you repeat it?
Next meeting, malnutrition and mingo meal by Food and Nutrition Research Institute. So it's related to our topic today.
Okay. So now we will do our presentation and recognition done by Mr.